From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, Baseball Regional set. How do we feel about the path to Omaha for the Noles? Putting a bow on softball. And there's 12 teams better than Florida State this millennia in football? Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Shake it. Take it. I don't know if that audio came in really good or not.
It's not the best audio.
That was. I mean, I don't know if the quality was great, but I wanted to sound appetizing because it's fantastic, everybody. It says right there on the label, tastes great. They're not lying to you because there's 260 milligrams of all-natural caffeine and there's no sugar, and you're asking yourself, what does that have to do with the flavor, Aslan? I don't know, man, but it still tastes good somehow. All that caffeine, no sugar, tastes great, and keeps you energized for 7 hours, maybe even more if you're a mortal man like I am. Give it a shot. Shake it and take it. VitaminEnergy.com, the world's first and only clinically tested, clinically proven energy shot. Warchant.com, ultimate Seminole sports source. Give us a shot, why don't you? And reminders to all the kids out there, email us, support@warchant.com from your FSU.edu domained email address, and you can get a free membership to warchant.com for an entire year. It's so great, Tallahassee in the summer. Corey, I was able to go from my house to picking up our guy Ira across town to then getting over to College Town for the NCAA Baseball Regional Tournament or the National Tournament reveal within, under 15 minutes. Just boom, boom, because there's nobody here right now. I love when the kids are gone, but we also love you being around, supporting your team. Support your team. And also have a free access to warchant.com. Again, email support@warchant.com from your fsu.edu email address. Corey Clark, it's been too long. How are you, friend?
I'm good, buddy. How are you doing? You doing all right?
Yeah, I can't wait to see you a little bit in a few here, right? Bringing the missus out to the annual celebratory bash over at the boss's house?
The Memorial Day, yeah. What about you? You bringing your missus?
I am. Abby will be in
what an
attendance.
Exciting time.
Yeah, we're all getting the bands back.
Are you going to wear a bathing suit?
Yeah, tank top too, yeah.
Okay, man, it's going to be on.
Do a little pose down?
It's going to be on.
Yeah. How's the weekend, friend?
It was good. It was pretty laid back. Watched some Florida State baseball I wasn't in Durham, but I watched those games.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the softball team didn't play on Saturday. Their season came to an end on Friday. Kind of laid back. Enjoyed the hot weather.
Yeah. We'll wrap up softball towards the end. I don't know if you want to give if you want to just riff for a quick 2 minutes or so, if that on the ACC tournament, but obviously we saw how things worked out where Sunday they announced the 16 regional hosts. We knew that Florida State was going to be one of those, but it felt like they had to win one more game in Durham to get that top 8 national seed. They lose to North Carolina in what Link Jarrett characterized on Monday as a 3-inning game that they did not execute well enough in to win that game against North Carolina. So they end up with the number 9 national seed. So they do not have the benefit of a for sure host at the super level if they make it to the following weekend. But they still have a relatively good draw, which I guess we can talk about. But I guess maybe any thoughts lingering from the past weekend watching Florida State play in Durham. I like the fact they got some of the grossness out of them. Some might say that just shows that's what they're capable of, that what they might revert to. I think it's every team has that in their system. Get it out, and then smooth sailing from here on out.
Look, there's a few takeaways. Number one, but it's like can you use it? Is it something is it a predictor of what's going to happen this weekend? I have no idea. Baseball's such a goofy sport. Like Miles Bailey is as hot as the sun right now, or was in Durham, and then remember he kind of won the game against North Carolina here to end the regular season with that 3-run homer, and then he hits one of the longest home runs in the history of college baseball.
Blistered it.
That was crazy. I don't know if they ever said if it was the longest home run in that stadium, but it has to be in the conversation. 470 feet, 118 off the bat. Good night. But he's not striking out, or didn't. He hasn't struck out, I think, in his last 4 or 5 games, which may not sound like much, but that's a big deal for him because when he does hit the ball, He hits it very, very hard. He also draws walks. He drew a couple of walks in that game. I think he's got 23 or 24 straight plate appearances without a strikeout. If he's that guy, that changes everything. Because Max didn't do much, honestly. And Alex Lodis wasn't incredible in those 2 games up in Durham. Now, it was some tough luck. He hit some line drives right at people. And also, I think that ball that he hit for a double is a home run in most parks. He just hit it high off that blue monster. But Miles Bailey's a big takeaway, perhaps. You hope. That's a predictor of something. And then maybe Wes Mendez. I think Mendez now that's 3. I know he didn't. The numbers aren't great. But, man, he was electric there for a while. He was throwing 95. He had them off balance. He got a lot of swings and misses. He had 7 strikeouts in 5 innings against a good team. And if Gage Harrelson doesn't just let a pop-up kind of drop at his feet, maybe he doesn't give up the 2-run home run the next pitch. So he got some bad breaks, I thought, a little bit. Bad breaks defensively. The big fat kid for Carolina. Sorry.
Whoa.
The big kid for Carolina hits a little ground ball double to left against the shift that I don't even think he was trying to do. They gave him a bunch of credit for doing it. I don't even think he was trying to do it. That's a bad break. Another kid hits a ball that's not hit very hard down the other line that's a double. But I thought Mendez, other than that home run, was really, really good. And I kind of blame Link for after a 25-minute bottom of the inning, I was surprised, with Volini already warm, that Mendez even went out there for the 6th. But either way, those are win or lose. It's going to be tough to get to Omaha. It's tough to get to Omaha. I saw a stat today, Aslan, that the last 5 years, it's hovering around 65% of the top 16 seeds to get to the Super Regionals. Not to get to Omaha, just to advance to the next weekend. It's about a 65% clip. It's not easy to do. So, that it's harder than it ever has been to get to Omaha. It's harder than it ever is to get to a Super. So, you like the way they're set up to get to Omaha if they play well. If they don't play well, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you do like you do kind of like the setup in that they don't have to go play LSU in a Super if they get that far. They don't have to go play Vandy or Arkansas, but they do have to go across the country and play a perennially really good baseball program. But you can't. I don't imagine that Oregon State's crowd is quite the same vibe as Fayetteville or Baton Rouge, but I could be wrong. But either way, they got to get there first. I did like, overall, even though they lost that game and they really kind of gave it away with some nonsense in the last inning, I really did like the way they played up there. Yeah. In Durham, I mean. Yeah.
All right, so Florida State, the number 9 national seed, they will be taking on Bethune-Cookman, and it sounds like Link is going to opt to go early and play.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, they're playing at 3.
Yeah, so, and I know you like the Hauser Magic. His argument to us off camera was, play the first game. There's no uncertainty about if the first game runs late, if there's weather, like you might end up starting later than you anticipated. Also, if for some reason you lose that game, if you lose 7 p.m. on Friday night, you got to turn around and go to the ballpark the next morning and you're fighting for your life. So I think that it makes sense. And I know it's a bummer. And he even mentions, like, he says the national seed missing out on it, he hurts because he feels this fan base deserves it. He wants it for them. But he also realizes, like, hey, we got to win some games. He wished they could all be out there and get off of work in time, but that's the way it's going to work out. Otherwise, I think Northeastern comes into this as the number 2 seed in the regional.
Oh, okay. It's hard to know or care.
Yeah.
Honestly, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The 2 plays the 3, so it really doesn't matter.
And I said Northeastern, which is located in Massachusetts. They play in the CAA, the Colonial Athletic Association. And Mississippi State will also be rounding out the foursome. So Florida State, Bethune-Cookman, Northeastern, and Mississippi State. For those wondering, Northeastern, as of this recording, we'll talk about as you're listening to this, 51 days since they have last lost a baseball game. They have had 17 shutouts on the season, and they are ranked 22nd in RPI. They're 48-9.
Yeah.
So you think...
And I think they're second in the country in stolen bases.
200-something stolen bases, I think he said they had.
Wow, really? That's incredible. Somebody has more than that? But probably Louisville, huh?
They're fourth in the country at 3.37 per game. I don't know exactly the raw number of stolen bases, but I'll look that up. But your thoughts, Corey, on, again, you're going to get an SEC. If you're an SEC team as a host, you pretty much ended up getting a ACC team coming to your house. I think, Louisville is going to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
I think Tennessee is hosting Wake Forest. We got Mississippi State. Mississippi State fired their coach midseason, which is what they did in 2018, then came here and beat Florida State. But looking at that, and then we can look a little bit further ahead to the regional, you'd be against Corvallis. All things considered, man, I think, I don't want to say favorable, but manageable kind of road to Omaha for Florida State, it feels like, off the rip.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And we didn't. He was asked, but didn't have a plan yet of who he's going to pitch on Friday. My thought would be it's going to be Volini. And then Arnold, you save Arnold for Saturday night, and that would be a night game if you get to that game. I am not a fan of this. I get his reasoning, and it worked last year. So if it works again this year, I'll get off his back. I do not like the idea of having the host team play at 3 in the afternoon. I think you play at one of the unique places in the country when people are there at night and it's electric. And I think in an environment like that, if it is a close game, and it's 4-2 in the 8th, and a Bethune-Cookman reliever comes on with the bases loaded, could melt down in that environment because he's not used to it. And it might still happen at 5:15 in the afternoon as opposed to 9:30 at night. But it's not as likely. It won't be as loud. Ask me why. I don't know. I don't know why people are louder at night, while stadiums are louder at night than they are in the day, other than alcohol. I don't know. But I do know it's harder for people to get there for a game like this when it's at 3 in the afternoon on a work day. And I hope it's full. I don't quite remember last year's first game and what the crowd was like. I can't remember who they played. I know UCF was in the regional, but that's not who the 4 seed was.
Stetson was one of the other. Was it Stetson?
Maybe, yeah, they played Stetson. And the crowd just isn't what it is for a night postseason game. But his reasoning makes sense too. And if there is a rain delay and your game gets pushed back to 9:45 at night because of Tallahassee storms, which they do happen in late May and early June, as we all know, then there wouldn't be a crowd for that either. So I get you get more control if you're the afternoon game. I understand it. I'm not a huge fan of the fans having to sit in the hottest part of the day. The reward for them is the hottest part of the day, having to take off work to go do it. But it's one game, folks. It's not that big a deal. It's degrees. I would choose the night game. I'm not Link Jarrett. He puts way more thought into this kind of stuff than I do. So that's fine. If I can tell you this, if they lose that afternoon game to Bethune-Cookman, old Corey Clark will be singing about it forever. He's got that one hit, and he'll just keep singing it. But, yeah, I mean, it worked last year. And it should work this year. You're playing a 4 seed, Bethune-Cookman, good program.
You played them this year already, too.
Yeah, you played them this year. It wasn't an easy game. You beat them 9-7, and you didn't see their weekend guys. Obviously, they didn't see yours. But you should win that game. They needed a walk-off 2-out home run to beat FAMU to even get to this point. So they're riding high, man. They got nothing to lose. But they haven't seen a Volini, you wouldn't think, or a Joe Charles, or many of them anyway, throughout and you should be able to hit Bethune-Cookman pitching. So I think looking at Northeastern and Mississippi State, yeah, you think about like, if you're going to get an SEC team that didn't host, this isn't a bad option. And I say that knowing Mississippi State is quite capable of beating Florida State. They beat Auburn this year. They beat a bunch of good teams this year. They also lost to a lot of teams this year, but they're capable of beating you. But they're going to have to throw their best pitcher on Friday to try to beat Northeastern. And they might not even get to the game. Northeastern's really good. And isn't that cool?
They're 48-9, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. 17 shutouts
and
is
real
nuts.
Quick, on the statistics of the stolen bases, they're second in raw numbers, 192 stolen bases behind VMI, who's got 209.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, we can't look ahead too much, but if Northeastern is playing Florida State, they're going to be facing Jamie Arnold, what you would think, and they haven't probably seen a lot of those, and he's a lefty, so it's going to be a little harder to run against. But Florida State, as we all know, has not done a very good job of throwing out base runners this year, so that could be a challenge. But either way, I think when you look at it, it's a fair regional for the 9 seed.
Yes,
you didn't get a great SEC team. You got a really good Northeastern team, but it's Northeastern. You've got more MLB prospects. You've got better talent than they do. They're a very good team, and they're deserving of a 2 seed. But that is not impossible. It's not that daunting. If you play well, you should get out of this regional. But you got to play well.
So the last 3 series for Mississippi State were against Kentucky, who I think is one of the only SEC teams that didn't make it into the field.
They did make it.
Did they make it?
Yeah, they were the last one to make it.
Unbelievable.
Team number 64.
Unbelievable. So they actually swept Kentucky. They beat Ole Miss, and then they swept Missouri.
They beat Ole Miss 2 out of 3, right?
Yeah. Missouri is the team that is from the SEC that didn't make it into the tournament. I can say that. They run-ruled them in 2 of the games.
Texas A&M didn't make it either.
Okay. They lost Texas A&M 0-9. But basically, so you might look at the fact that they're coming in kind of hot, if you want to call it that. They swept the team that made into the tournament. They beat 2 out of 3, a team that's hosting, and then they swept another team. But you look at it, 2 of those series were in Starkville, and the one sweep was against Missouri in Missouri. So, again, you're going to get a tricky team. Listen, poor Southern Miss, they're hosting in Hattiesburg. They've got Miami and Alabama coming to their regional. So, it's hard to pick an absolutely perfect kind of route forward, but
there
manageable.
isn't one, right?
There isn't.
Oregon State has a tough one, and that's who Florida State is matched up with on the other side if both teams advance. Like TCU and USC are good teams. Yeah. Again, it's harder than it ever has to even get out of a regional now. So Florida State at least put themselves in position to, if they play well, they're advancing to the final weekend before Omaha, and they get to be a top. They're basically advancing to the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8. No, Sweet 16. There'd be 16 teams left. Yeah. They're advancing in the Supers. They put themselves in position. They got a fair enough draw, but it's hard, man. Northeastern wins all the time. Bethune-Cookman isn't going to be that rattled about coming to Dick Howser Stadium, especially at 3 in the afternoon. And they've been here, and they played Florida State close 2.5 months ago. So it's hard now to do this. It's crazy too, Aslan. I was watching ESPN, and they had when they were showing the regional sites, 1 through 16, just going down the list, and it would be like Fayetteville, 11th time hosting a regional, Oxford 9th time hosting a regional, Florida State 37th time hosting a regional.
That's right.
7 more than anybody else.
That's right.
This isn't in look, I know they haven't won the last game of these seasons, but to continually put yourself in position to host regionals, it doesn't guarantee anything other than you have a little bit more of an edge because of the home crowd to get to Supers. And if you get to Supers, even if you're out west, anything is possible. Anything is possible. They can lose. They can go 0-2. I've seen that a couple of times with this program over the years with very good teams, and I've seen teams that I didn't think were very good at all get to Omaha. It's a goofy sport.
Yeah. By the way, last year they played at noon against Stetson in Game 1. 4,153 in attendance, and
it's usually about 6,000. So, man, there's a give and a take there, and they won the game.
Yes.
And they should win this game. It wouldn't matter if it's played at 4 in the morning, 10 at a.m., 10 at night. You should beat Bethune-Cookman when you're throwing one of your weekend starters. But it's baseball. It's hard. You hit a guy, you make an error, you hang a curveball, and all of a sudden you're down 3-0, and there's real pressure on you. That's how baseball turns. And so nothing is guaranteed. I just think one extra element of playing at Howser is that night crowd, man. But again, if it rains for 4 hours and the 3 o'clock game doesn't start till 7, and then your first pitch is at 11 a.m. or 11 p.m., well, you're not going to have a crowd there for that either. So I get it. And look, if there is a rain delay for a couple hours, you're starting at 5:30 anyway.
Boom.
It all works out.
I'm sure it's all going to work out. It's all going to work out. And if you can't make it to Dick Howser Stadium this weekend, well, shoot. Head over to the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill and catch the game there amongst other Noles. There's going to be a whole bunch of Noles because it's a Florida State sports bar, everybody. It's called Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. You know the name. 2475 Appalachia Parkway, cptallybar.com, the website. 40 television screens, dartboards, pool tables, ice-cold drinks, delicious food, everything you need to get your day right, your weekend right, and get the regionals going right. Corey, will you be at trivia on Tuesday?
That's a great question. I think so. I think I will be there. It's not 100% confirmed, but I think I will be there. And more importantly, the TVs will be on sports, and they'll be on sports all weekend. So let's say you're at the game on Friday. The Noles get you a big win. They beat Bethune-Cookman 8-3. You want to come watch. Maybe you don't want to stay in the hot sun or even the warm night heat and watch Northeastern play Mississippi State. Well, you could come in the corner pocket and watch it on the TV.
That's right.
And get to see who the Noles are going to play. You can watch college baseball from all across the country and the softball World Series, although the Noles won't be in it. There's going to be sports on everywhere. It's going to be cold. The beer's going to be cold. The clientele's going to be hot.
There we go. Hell yeah. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. We're back. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Shake it and take it. At some point this week, Corey, I know, should we do some kind of mildly patronizing, but not really, primer welcoming people to the baseball postseason? Like, you're a Florida State fan. We know you're all about football all the time, but this is a kind of a cool part of the year, sports calendar. Here's everything you need to know about the baseball team. Just kind of give it to them like a scouting report almost of the team. I think we should do that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we do a pretty good job of talking about it throughout the year, though, which is important because if people are tuning in, I know not everybody's a big baseball fan or they're not dialed in March and April, but I feel like we speak with enough. I don't know.
Listen, we've watched.
Authority.
I think the two of us have probably watched. 92% of every inning played this season. So we're
and I think we have real authority. Not that we know everything, but we have a pretty good grasp of the team, what they're good at, what they're not good at.
Yeah.
We could do that. But I don't think it has to be. It could be just more of a educational.
Yeah.
Hear the guys. Look, man, and I'll say this. So Lodis won the ACC Player of the Year, which was awesome, and he might be a first-round pick. I think Max Williams will be a second-round, third-round pick. Arnold's going to be a top 10 pick. Man, I'm starting the Miles Bailey thing over the last 2 weeks has gotten me very, very excited because the home run he hit on Saturday against North Carolina, he didn't even get. He didn't hit it like he can hit it, and it still went out in a real park. Not that Hauser's not a real park, but that's a short porch in right field. This isn't. This is a minor league park against a good pitcher that he still hit 94 miles an hour and hit it 380 feet to get it out of the park. And it's like, man, what is this going to look like? What is this going to turn into? Because I keep coming up with a comparison, and he's not as good. He might not ever be as good as the Caglione kid from Florida last year, who's now, I assume he's one game away from being in the big leagues. This kid, he's on a tear. He needs to be with the Royals already. He's one of the best prospects in minor league baseball. But it's that kind of power where when he hits it, even if he doesn't hit it great, he hits it with so much authority that it's going to probably land over the fence if he gets it airborne. And then if he hits it with authority and he barrels it, it's going to set records. So as long as he can, and he hits lefties and righties, like I don't know if, I think he's an older freshman, so next year might be his last year. I'm not quite sure on that. But either way, I'm really excited about what this kid is turning into because he is a difference maker. He is an absolute impact bat.
Who are you, probably Miles Bailey, but like between him and Mendez in terms of like turning it on here in the last, you can say 2 weeks for Bailey, last, 3 starts or so for Mendez. Obviously, I think Bailey's been a little bit more dynamic, but the way Volini was used on Saturday, they went Mendez-Volini because, again, if they win and beat North Carolina on Saturday, Florida State's a top 8 national seed, and we're talking about them definitely hosting for the next 2 weeks.
Almost certainly, yeah. When the way it turned out, when they're the 9 seed and they lost that game, that win probably gets them to 8.
Asking Link, he mentions they haven't looked at their full plan, but they have all options available. But he admitted that he doesn't want to get too cute with it. Do you look at the way that Volini was used kind of in a smaller window and think about using him differently here? I don't want to call it this week, but in this regional kind of format, is he a guy that is kind of becomes your Connor Whitaker maybe, like gives you 9 outs in one of these games as opposed to a starter frontline guy?
No. I think he was second team All ACC as a starter. He's had a couple rough outings, but against Carolina, it's a very good team. And I think Clemson got him, right?
Yeah.
Those are 2 good teams. But no, I think if you want to get to where you need to get, these 3 guys have to get you somewhere in the neighborhood in a weekend of 54 outs. There's 81 outs. To win 3 games, you got to get 81 outs. They need to get you 54 of them. and then figure out the other 27. But if you're only getting 9 from him, that's not a great recipe because you still don't feel 100% great about anybody in the bullpen other than probably Joe Charles. I think they did what they did on Saturday, knowing that we're not going to pitch either one of these guys on Sunday anyway. If we win this game, Sunday almost doesn't matter, even though it's for the ACC championship. And North Carolina did the same thing. They pitched their 2 weekend starters in that game. They started the Saturday guy, and then the Sunday guy came on in relief. Or maybe they flipped it. I don't remember exactly how. But both of their starters pitched in that game. Not Knapp, because he had pitched the day before, but their ace didn't pitch, but the other 2 weekend starters did. And so did Florida State, with the thinking being one of these guys will pitch on Saturday or Friday. We want to keep them on their regular rest and not save them for Sunday. And we also want them to pitch in this tournament to get some work. So I thought they handled it well, where they still have a bunch of options. I think the question is, do you pitch Mendez on Friday or Volini? Because the way Mendez has looked, you almost can trust him. I still would go with Volini. I think you reward the guy that's been better for the long, and not that we're playing the participation trophy game. I think he's built up a little more trust than Mendez. I think Mendez is a great, great weapon to have on Sunday, or even like Sunday in an elimination game. Like if you're having to play Sunday in an elimination game, that's not throwing Wes Mendez out there against whoever their 3 is a pretty good. You got a pretty good chance there, and then you just hope for some miracle the next game. But I don't think Volini's going to be moved to the bullpen because you need a third starter, and I just think you're going to have to win 3 games one way or the other. And I think Volini as a starter gets you the best chance.
His last 5 appearances he's taken a loss in all those 5 appearances. Louisville,
really?
Clemson, Cal, and then the 2 games against Carolina.
But the loss against Carolina, that wasn't his fault. I know he got the L, but he gave up 1 run and 3 1/3. I thought he looked good. I thought Mendez and he looked good.
Well, that was the kind of the thinking is with that lesser load, and Link mentioned like he's hit a innings pitched number this year that he's never dealt with before in his career, Joey Volini. So maybe if your mind is working differently again when you know you only have to come in the 5th inning, perhaps it's a completely different game pitching. Starter, mid-relief guy. But I don't know. I don't know if Mendez hasn't given us enough to make you be like, for sure, start him Friday afternoon. You can beat Bethune with him and cruise into having Jamie, and then you can do Volini and Abraham and Charles to win your regional.
Yeah, I mean, I think you save Arnold for Saturday. Everything else is on the table, but I think Charles is pitching on Saturday too. You hope the best case scenario is you hope you win Friday 11-2.
Yeah,
but that's a big hope, man, and that's not a guarantee. I mean, I've watched this team lose to worse teams to Bethune-Cookman to start. Bucknell beat Buster Posey's team. Like crazy stuff happens all the time. So I think you concentrate on winning that first game, and then I don't know, man. You maybe Volini in a pinch, but I just think you treat it like a super regional where you set these guys up at 1, 2, 3 and pitch.
Any initial thoughts on Oregon State? They're an independent, by the way, everybody. They've played, I think they gamed the system by only playing 17, 18 games, maybe 19 at home this past season. They're on the road a lot, Corey, which I think
to build up their RPI?
Yeah. I don't know if that was done by design.
Yeah, who did they play?
I mean, they played some of their old regional, like I think
they played
Washington
Oregon,
times.
They might have played Oregon 6 times, I think. I know they lost to Oregon 4 times. They said that on the show. But I was like, yeah, who did they play? And here's the thing about that, man.
They played Ohio. Well, this is preseason. We'll go to the preseason tournaments, but they played Nebraska, UC Irvine, Cal State Fullerton, Gonzaga, Hawaii, Iowa, Long Beach State. So yeah, they've been playing all around. They're a Johnny Cash song apparently.
Yeah, but here's my thought on that, man. Is good for them. Like if Florida State's going to lose, and I don't think Florida State deserved a top 8 national seed anyway. They could have beaten. They had it was all right there for them. All they had to do was beat North Carolina on Saturday. Of course, they had to play a road game because why wouldn't they in the ACC tournament? Why wouldn't it be in North Carolina? But either way, they had to play a road game, but they had a chance. It was right there, and they kind of faltered down the stretch, lost that game. I think they got a perfectly fair seeding. And if there's going to be a non-SEC ACC team,
Yes.
to host a super regional or be a top 8 national seed, I am so happy it's Oregon State, because you want to talk about a university in an athletic department and program that was completely screwed by the power brokers in this country when it comes to college athletics. It is Oregon State. They do not have a conference. This is a team that's won 2 national championships in baseball. This is a team that's not been horrible in football. Florida State got its last quarterback from there. You guys remember how well that went. So maybe Oregon State deserves all this after unleashing DJU on us. So the fact that those fans that just got completely dismissed by anybody that matters in college athletics, for them to get a chance to host a super regional, I think that's awesome. I think that's great. Now, I hope they lose this weekend, so Florida State doesn't have to go to Oregon and they can host USC. And
or
then
TCU.
I'm not going to Corvallis
Come
either way,
on.
but no chance. You see that train ride that Ira sent us? Folks, if you're wondering how to get from Florida to Oregon by train, you might as well be doing the Oregon Trail from the 1850s. That's how long it takes. You need a wagon. You need some oxen, some dysentery disinfectant. It's incredible. Was it 98 hours?
Yeah.
A train from Jacksonville to Portland is 98 hours. I can drive there in 40. I could probably walk there in 99. But apparently our train system in this country, it takes basically a week to get from one end of the country on a train. So high-speed rail, it's never happening. Great. Perfect. Love it. But the fact that Oregon State, I don't know much about them other than their shortstop is supposed to be a top 10 pick. And they always have really good players. And it's a good program. And I doubt they've hit a ton of home runs. I feel like up there it can be hard. The ball doesn't travel as well. So I'm sure they're good fundamentally, and I'm really happy for them. If it came down to Oregon State and Oregon for that final spot, I'm really happy they chose Oregon State, because screw the Big Ten. Let this team that doesn't get anything, give them a gift. And if the gift is a top 8 national seed, fine, because everybody should feel guilty about what happened to Washington State and Oregon State. Everybody. Yeah. And I'm glad that they get at least a little happiness, because they're not going to have much for a long, long time if they don't find a home.
Yeah. While technically true, I did find it funny when they were talking about the distribution of host sites, and it's, whatever, 8 SEC, 2 ACC, and then it's like 2 Big Ten teams, and it's like UCLA and Oregon.
Yeah.
Like it's not Iowa, it's not Minnesota, it's not Michigan. None of those teams are hosting. It's UCLA.
I'd like to go
on
a quick rant real quick, though. So there's 13 SEC teams in the field, and there's 9 ACC teams in the field. That seems fair.
Okay, yeah.
But 6 of the 13 SEC teams are a top 8 national seed. 1 of 9 of the ACC teams are a top 8 national seed.
And neither of them are top 4. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, right, correct. So, again, last year, I want to remind everyone, last year the entire College World Series was half SEC, half ACC. There were 4 ACC teams in the College World Series last year. This is not a piddly little baseball conference. This is a great baseball conference. And 11% of the teams in the field from this conference got to be a top 8 national seed. Meanwhile, almost 50% of the other teams, the other big boy conference, gets a top 8 national seed. That is ridiculous. It's just not. There's no, other than being like Texas A&M and just getting completely wiped off the map because you falter and you don't even make the tournament. There's no, like, these teams are losing 12, 13, 14 conference games, and their RPIs are staying stagnant or going up. And it's like they've rigged the system. They've gamed the system. And I'm not saying they're not good. They're very good. The SEC has some really good teams. It is not that much better than the ACC, whereas you would assume that none of these ACC teams except for North Carolina could have competed in the SEC. The SEC has real talent, man. And to get 1 of 9, Georgia Tech won the league and doesn't even get to be a regional host. What is it? The SEC had 8 regional hosts, right? 8 out of 13.
Yeah.
So again, that's what out of quick math, 60%. The ACC had 33% of its teams as a regional host, including the winner of the regular season. Georgia Tech doesn't get to host. They got to go play at I don't know where they're going. I can't remember.
You saw Georgia Tech?
Yeah, Georgia Tech.
They got to go to Oxford, play Ole Miss.
Yeah, they got to go play on the SEC. They got to go on the road and play in Oxford. So I don't know, man. Like the system has been rigged, and it's happening for every sport. And as I just said, so it's fair. Well, they're the better conference. They should have more hosts. Yeah, I get it, but they're not that much better that they should have 6 times the amount of top 8 national seeds as the ACC does. That's just goofy. But, hey, you know what? Clemson lost the series to Pittsburgh or something. So, sorry. The SEC doesn't have any Pittsburghs except for Ole Miss. Like, that's just it. There's no series you can lose or even be swept where it just completely crushes you in the SEC, except Missouri. Yeah. But the ACC, there's like 5 of them. So, anyway, it is crazy, too, that, like, to start this season, Texas A&M was number 1 in the country in the preseason poll. Virginia was number 2. Neither team even made the tournament. Yeah. College baseball, man, it's hard. It's a fickle mistress.
It's funny, too, because Kevin O'Connor, the coach at – is it Kevin? Brian O'Connor. Brian O'Connor, the coach at Virginia, was asked about his name being linked to the Mississippi State job, and he was like, if this job is all about graduating kids and playing for national championships and making it to Omaha, he's like, where can you do it any better than here? And I said, well, you just didn't make the tournament at Virginia, so I'm sure it's going to fire up the rumor mill.
Think about, like, Mississippi State just won the national championship a couple years ago, right?
21 or 22, yeah.
And their team did make the tournament this year.
Yeah.
And that coach was still fired.
Correct.
That doesn't look all that appealing if you're at a place like Virginia. If you're at a place like Troy or Samford or Northeastern, absolutely, Mississippi State would be awesome. If you're at Virginia, I feel like you'd be like, no thanks.
Some of these weird matchups to the Supers, and I want to talk about softball real quick. But, yeah, so Oxford's matchup with Athens. So, like, if Georgia wins their regional, they either have to play Ole Miss or maybe they get Georgia Tech. So that doesn't feel all that great. The Baton Rouge regional is matched up with Clemson. I mean, I think Clemson's a really good team.
That's
so,
a cool one.
Yeah, LSU, they could lead us right into the football season with those two taking each other on.
That's
so,
right.
And then, listen, Fayetteville, Arkansas, Dave Van Horn might be this generation's Mike Martin right now. He is. We'll see how long he can't make it over the hump or whatever, but they're matched up with the Knoxville Regional. So I'm sure they don't feel all that great in Fayetteville about their chances of making it to Omaha, too. So no one really has – there aren't a lot of slam dunk kind of paths. Vanderbilt, they get the Hattiesburg Regional winner. But that could be a really good team coming out of that regional. But you're also the number 1 overall seed, so that just shows you.
Yeah, and Southern Miss is good.
Yeah.
And somebody else was
Bama and Miami are in there.
Sit there. Yeah. What I was going to say is, what if Florida? Would you have rather Florida State been the number 8 seed, but Florida be the SEC team in the regional, in the Tallahassee regional, this weekend?
No.
Or the 9 seed with Mississippi State, but have to go on the road for the Supers?
I think I take our reality. I don't even know how great Florida really is this year, but why risk it? No.
Yeah, I agree. I know they were 1-11 to start SEC play, and then they won like 6 series in a row. So yeah, I feel like, you just gotta go win. Look, man, I don't know that a Florida State team, other than the one that beat LSU in 19, have they ever won a Super to get to Omaha on the road? I don't think so. I think that was the one and only.
Yeah.
And that team was just riding on magic fairy dust somehow. This team, likely, it's not guaranteed, though. Again, I just said only 65% of the regional hosts advance to Super Regional. So there's a 35% chance that Oregon State loses, just like with Florida State. But if Oregon State wins and Florida State wins, they're going to have to go beat a perennial national program 2 out of 3 in Oregon, go across the country to do it. But teams do that stuff. Sometimes you got to go take the bull by the horns, Aslan.
Amen. Yeah, so they've only had the Super Regional format since 2000, and they didn't make it back to Omaha until Buster? So
yes,
the Buster
correct.
years, I think the Supers are always here.
Yeah, that was Wichita State. Then 2010, they beat Vanderbilt. They were supposed to go on the road, maybe to play Louisville, and I think Vanderbilt upset Louisville, and then so Vanderbilt came to Tallahassee. 2012.
That team was strong.
That was Stanford,
They're
right?
Definitely, yeah. I don't know who it was, but they were definitely hosting.
Yeah.
And then 17, Sam Houston State helped us out and beat Oklahoma State or Oklahoma. I don't know who they beat.
Yeah, but I think that was another one where Florida State would have had to go on the road.
Yeah,
they were not a Type 8 national seed. So they've gotten a couple of breaks. That Sam Houston State team, like I said, the Vanderbilt team.
Well, last year UConn, I don't think UConn was a regional host.
I don't think so either, but I do think that – I mean, Florida State was a top 8 national seed, so they were going to be hosting either way, but they got to host. So they've gotten some breaks in regional play over the years with some opponents. So I'm assuming this year, if they happen to win their regional, get ready to fly to Oregon, Aslan. You ever been to Corvallis?
I never have been. I
bet it's really pretty.
I bet it is, but I bet you TCU wins that regional.
Okay, all right.
Actually, I don't know. We'll see how it all works out. Meanwhile, 1 win shy of 50 for softball, 2 wins shy of making it back to Oklahoma City in the Women's College World Series. The season came to an end last weekend versus Texas Tech, the 12 seed. NiJaree Canady, who was the standout at Stanford, much ballyhooed portal acquisition. A lot of other talented pieces on that Red Raider roster were also acquired from the portal. A lot of people upset. They didn't like the matchup to start with, and then the worst sort of nightmare kind of came to fruition. She dealt. She hit a home run. I don't know. I almost want to talk about this. It'd probably be easier to talk about it off the microphone. I'll bring it up when we're all hanging out together. But I just feel like I felt a little bit of a different kind of tone in Lonnie's voice. It felt like at the end of these 2 games, like a kind of a bit of frustration. I don't know if it was because maybe her team didn't play as well as she thought they were capable of, or just they got hosed and having to play this team that's just really tough to go up against. But I guess big picture thoughts, and then people are already asking, what does Florida State need to do to be able to get back to Oklahoma City? And I don't feel like anything drastic, really.
No, I think, man, they were. Man, you look around the country, and you almost would have rather been on the road playing anybody else than playing that pitcher this past weekend. And look, man, you've got to adjust. She's not unbeatable. She did lose 5 games this year. She has lost games in her career. She's lost postseason games. She doesn't lose many. She's very good, but she has lost a few. So they just didn't. They didn't make the adjustments. They weren't blown away in the sense that they were being struck out all the time. I think she had 10 strikeouts for the weekend, but a million pop-ups. And they just they never made the adjustment to the rise ball, which it's hard. It's easy for me to say. I tell you one thing, man. So those seats they give us for the press in that stadium is like right behind third base, like 10 rows up. Mm-hmm. So you're really close. It's an incredible vantage point to see that speed of that pitch. Holy cow. I'm amazed anybody makes contact with it. I'm a mere mortal. But the fact that people are occasionally, not much, are squaring it up, but all those Florida State players made contact is outrageous when you see it in person. And then the girl at Tennessee's throwing 77.
She broke someone's bat, I think, apparently.
Yeah, I saw it. The girl was holding the handle of her bat in her hands, running to first. She shattered her bat. Against, I think they beat Nebraska. Jordy Ball.
Yeah.
So, go get Jordy Ball, because clearly she realizes now she can't get to OKC with Nebraska. So she needs to go back out on the open market and come to Florida State. But look, good season, really good season. Kind of a tough break that they got matched up. I think they're any of the other, from 9 to 16, any other team, including Nebraska, I feel like you feel really good about, because those are mortal pitchers. Canady is just unreal, and she pitched really well, and you didn't adjust. And then I think Lonnie made a really good point, and I asked her about it because her defense was horrible. The defense was outrageously bad. It wasn't good all season, and then it really came to bite them back in the Super Regionals. They had more errors than hits. They had 7 errors in 2 games. That's ridiculous. And they had 6 hits. But she made the point, like, when you're playing a pitcher like that and runs are at a premium, like an absolute premium, in any mistake, like, we gave him an unearned run. Well, that's okay. We're about to hit a 3-run homer. That ain't happening against Canady. So it makes you play a little tighter, knowing that any mistake you make can be magnified because of who you're facing in the other circle. And they didn't handle that well. They had 4 errors.
Don't throw to second base when there's a runner at third. Don't try to get somebody's
not
feelings.
With two outs, yeah. And also, but that they would have lost that game without that error anyway. The really disappointing one was the one on Friday, the second game, because both of those runs were unearned. In that second run was I think it was 2 out, nobody on. You make an error, then a hit, and then another hit up the middle, and your center fielder fields the ball and decides to just hold it and not throw it home. And that doesn't count as an error, but it's a ridiculously bad play in that moment that allows them to score what ended up being the winning run because you came and scored a run in the 7th inning. You just gave them 2 runs. As bad as you were offensively, you gave them 2 runs. You could have won that game 1-0. That happens. But instead you lost 2-1. So that said, I would encourage everyone, if you haven't, and I know you're probably not dialed into softball postseason press conferences, but Michaela Edenfield is such a great ambassador for this university. And watching her talk about Lonnie Alameda is, I think, just must-watch TV. Ira even tweeted about it, tweeted a clip of it. There is something special about that program and about that coach. And as disappointed as I was, and as much as you might have heard an edge in my voice 45 seconds ago talking about the defense, man, I don't care. I want her to be healthy. I want her to get healthy and better. Yeah. I don't know the prognosis. I have not talked to her off the record about where she stands. I know she mentioned that she had a couple more sessions left. I'm assuming that means chemo. And I just hope she gets better because she is a wonderful person, and she is a bright light. And I just hope that she's healthy and she gets to enjoy next year what could be, Aslan, a very, very good team. Harp comes back. Torres is a junior. Both your best pitchers come back, Francic and Danley. Beecham, gotta bring her back. Essentially, you lost Kennedy Harp and Jasoni Beecham for the last 2 months of the season. Beecham still played, but was a shell of herself. I think she finished like 10 of her last 60 or something. She didn't get a hit in the supers. Not many did, but she kept coming on with runners on base, including the last out of the game, and could never get that big hit. Just did not look like herself at all. Ended up hitting like 305 after last year hitting 430. So if you get her back to what she is, along with Torres and Harp, and you've got the Shelby McKenzie, I thought showed a lot there at the end of the season, especially in that super. She had half their hits. I think you've got a chance to have a really, really good a really good team because you got your 2 pitchers back too. But they'll go in the portal. But more importantly, man, I wish the best for Lonnie. She is just a fantastic human being. And I'm not saying that because she's nice to me in interviews we do, because everybody's nice typically when they're being interviewed. It's when you talk to people that are around her, that know her behind the scenes. Just a wonderful, wonderful human being. And I just hope that she gets healthy, beats this for good, and moves on with her life. And then this time next year, we're talking about her team going to Oklahoma City.
Amen. NiJaree Canady surrendered 13 hits and 7 runs in the Lubbock Regional. She's not superhuman. She's not unhittable. Clearly, she was hit. But for whatever reason, Florida State could not figure out how to hit or get any offense produced against her. And so because of that, Texas Tech is headed to the College World Series. And I don't like these players getting money, but she's worth it. I'm fine. I'm fine with her making $1 million. Not bothered by it at all.
It's kind of cool, right? Like it's the one sport. I was thinking about this. I think it's the one sport in the country where one player has that big an impact. You go from Texas Tech never doing jack squat in that sport, never making an impact at all.
I don't think they've ever been to a Women's College World Series. They've never made it, I don't think.
They've never been to a super.
Yeah.
And they go and get one player. Now, they got other players, too. It's not like they just had one person in the field. They have other players around her, but she's the whole thing. They go and get one player, and then they're going to Oklahoma City because of one player. And you can say, yeah, other people got hits, other people make plays. Yeah, great. Texas Tech is nowhere near Oklahoma City without this one player. And it's the same thing with Nebraska getting so close. They were one out away from getting to Oklahoma City because of Jordy Ball. Isn't softball the only sport where one player, obviously a pitcher, can make this kind of impact? where you can you can completely turn the fortunes of a team because you sign one player?
Well, we made the tournament if we had Cooper Flagg.
Made the tournament, maybe, probably. Win the national championship?
No
chance.
Yeah,
they have a chance to win the national championship. Yeah. I think basketball's the closest, but then I look at Rutgers, and they're going to have 2 of the top 4 picks in the draft, and they didn't even make the tournament.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they have Ron Harper's kid and a kid named Ace Bailey. So they have 2 of the top 4 or 5 picks in this upcoming draft, and they didn't make the NCAA tournament. So
neither did LSU. I think the year they had Ben Simmons.
Right.
So
yeah, exactly right. But softball, if you have the best pitcher in the country, you have a great team. So she's worth it, man. If you care that much about softball, and that was a lot of talk around the stadium. It's like, who's paying this kind of money? It's like, well, somebody that loves softball or that loves Texas Tech and wants to see their program do well. Well, they've gamed the system. I keep using that phrase.
Well, and they realize they're going to get really good ROI. Like, I don't know if $1 million is going to get you even a football player that's going to make you bowl eligible. They just spent $1 million on a girl that's getting them to the national title conversation. Yeah, like the last.
Yeah, and it's a return on investment. Like, did they make any money in their softball team this year? I don't know. I'm sure they sold more season tickets. They made some money, but they probably didn't make $1 million in revenue because of her. But the person that gave $1 million doesn't care. If Jeff Cameron was a billionaire and he could change the fortunes of the Pittsburgh Pirates and not really feel it financially, he would absolutely do it. People have their loves, man. And if there's a billionaire listening to this right now that is a huge softball fan, Sarah Blakely, I don't know your athletics background, but let's just focus on softball and women's golf. Make sure Lottie Woad and Mirabelle Ting stay on the golf team, and go get Jordy Ball. I think Canada's only a junior. Get Canady and bring her to Tallahassee, and then you'll be the number 1 team in the country. You'll have all that talent coming back with Canady. Like that. It's cool that you can affect the fortunes in this one sport with just a maniacal fan or somebody that's willing to give a lot of money to someone like that. And I don't blame Canady at all. I do wonder, though, Aslan, is she the first player in history, the first person in history, to willingly transfer from Stanford to Texas Tech? Got to be, right?
Yeah. I know. I wonder what they told her at Stanford. Like, oh, you can come back, or they're like, absolutely not, or how it all worked out. Who knows?
Yeah, Tiger could have given him. Look at all the rich Stanford alums. There's a gazillion of them. But they don't care that much about softball. They don't care like Texas Tech does. But it's going to be interesting to see what the number is this year after watching her turn a completely just
moribund
dead program into an OKC team. Like, okay, what does Jordy Ball and Canady, do they have a bidding war? I mean, you look around and you're like, man, there's other fans that are like, I want my team to do that. I want my team to have that kind of. I can spend 1.2. Yeah. I got it to lose. I'm not. What I need another yacht. Yeah. I just don't have to take the yacht out in September.
Yeah, and I'm talking about ROI, not necessarily again like in terms of booster donations, season ticket sales, but. Like
How about joy on investment?
Yeah, the fact that like as a college sports fan, you're now going to be in the month of June and invested in watching your favorite team compete for a national title. And ESPN's going to be talking about it, or like it's part of the conversation around even Twitter and things like that. Like that stuff kind of matters, you know? So I don't begrudge her making the money. She earns it. Now, again, what do I feel about the, second team left guard making $200,000? Not that great. Not that great. Yeah. On the way out, we need a force of football 2 minutes. The people are of The Athletic. Stuart Mandel ranked the top 25 college football programs of the 2000s using win percentage, the amount of BCS New Year's Six Bowl appearances, national titles, conference titles, top 10 wins, top 25 wins, how often you were ranked in the top 10 and the top 25. Florida State University is on this list, Corey Clark. They are 12th. They're the 12th best team this millennia.
Okay.
And part
of me
was
about fair.
I didn't think it was fair.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, how many teams have won a national title? There can't be 11 other teams that have won a national title. And yeah, everybody ahead of them has won a national title except Oregon. And Oregon's number 7. But again, the formula is the formula. But I would take whatever. They've got a big zero where it says national titles. Florida State does not. They've got 8 conference titles. I think they have more top 25 wins. I don't care about that stuff. I care about the golden trophy.
Yeah, and I just think it's fair because there's been way too many downs here lately. Really, you've had some pockets of mediocrity to outright foolishness throughout this millennium, throughout this century. Way too many. So I think 12 is fair. They have not been consistent. It has not been a consistent program. But yeah, they do have a national title. They have 3 undefeated seasons, at least through the conference championships. Yeah, man, they played for 1 in 2000. That counts. They've been to, I would guess, 7, 8 New Year's Six bowls.
Yeah, you want me to read the resume?
Yeah, you know what? Because I think everybody listening to this has not been very excited about this century, with good reason. They haven't been.
Well, 5 losing seasons since 2018. That's what we all.
That's true, and that's absolutely fair, and it's justified. But on the whole,
yes.
Looking back over the last 25 years as a college football fan and a Florida State fan that everybody listening to this presumably is, you've had a pretty decent run of things. As I just said, there's only 11 programs that you might trade places with. Anyway, go ahead.
They are .665 in win percentage, which is 16th best. They've been in 10 BCS New Year's Six bowls. They've won a national title. They've won 6 conference titles. They have 18 wins over top 10 teams. That's 11th most. 39 wins over top 25 teams, 17th most. They've been ranked in the top 10 33% of weeks, which that's crazy.
I mean, it's just, but that was it was 40 in a row.
Yeah.
And then they disappear for 3 years.
Yeah, and that's 11th best, and they've been ranked in the top 25 60% of the millennia, 13th best. So yeah, it's just that 5 losing seasons since 2018, because he does admit that he does factor number of losing seasons as a counterbalance, but he does not list that for every other team. So.
Yeah, I think that. But again, I think that's absolutely fair.
Yeah. So again, if you're curious, the teams ahead of Florida State. Florida's 10th. Miami's behind us. Michigan's 11th. Florida's 10th. Texas 9. Southern Cal 8th. Oregon 7th. Clemson 6th. LSU 5th. Georgia 4th. Oklahoma 3rd. Alabama 2nd. Ohio State number 1. Ohio State.
I don't know about that. I think I'd roll with Alabama there. But I guess Ohio State did win that one in 2002 as well.
Yeah, so they got 3.
And Alabama didn't. Alabama most of the first decade was horrible or mediocre.
Yeah. All right, there we go. We got it in. All right, 2 more shows. Maybe one will include a primer welcoming in friends that are just listening to the pod about the baseball team and what we're about to embark on. We'll do a mailbag as well. Headlines?
Yeah, we'll do headlines and also just a quick a little transparency, as Aslan mentioned at the beginning of the show. We're recording this in the afternoon. We got a pool party at Gene's. It's Memorial Day. You're welcome. We did a show for you guys. You're welcome. Thank you so much for listening. But just an update, the FSU men's golf team is playing in the final round of stroke play at the NCAA National Championships, and we do not know how they finished as we're recording this. They, in fact, just started their round. They have to finish in the top 8 to advance to match play, which would be today, as you're listening to this, the first 2 rounds of match play. And, they were 7th by themselves going into Monday. So you just got to finish in the top 8. There's 15 teams remaining. They're 7th. They need to finish in the top 8, and they advance to match play, and they get a real chance. Got to win 3 matches, and you're the national champs.
Baseball, softball, football, golf. We even threw in some NBA draft.
It's what we do, gang.
Incredible.
It's what we do.
Incredible. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com.